Again, Lindsey Williams, many, many, many years ago. Ken Fromm, watch China. China's the big one. Trade wars, currency wars, real wars. That's another thing Gerald Celente says. Donald Trump warns President of China, Xi, trade war with China begins on Monday. Do you guys need to go and rewatch my John Titor video? Part 1, 2, 3, and 4. Titor, John Titor, the time travel crap. It's times like this when I see this that says, oh my gosh, I may want to go refresh my memory on John Titor in China. And he talked about inner tubes, tires for bicycles. The inner tube, the one that blows, blow up with air, not the actual tire. I believe he said inner tubes or tires, one or the other. I thought he said tubes. And he said, I got a question for you. Do you guys know who makes those or whatever? And no one answered him, whatever. And he goes, oh, well, he said, well, don't worry. You're going to find out in 2008. And he mentioned it, like this thing with China. And to me, okay, well, all this type of stuff, rubber and that comes from China. So he must be implying that, hey, who's the manufacturer of these things? And we need these things. And he was telling people during his whole story, the need for a bike or 2 or 3, some tires, extra tires and tubes, things like that. And because of that, hey, do you know who makes your tires and tubes? Or whatever. And no one really answered him. So he said, oh, well, you'll find out in 2008. Which, again, 2008, dude, 2017, now what happened? Either A, being from the future, if he really is from the future, if this whole crap is real, he would know. I can't give real dates. There's no way I'll be able to do that because people, the club will know, etc. And I can't have that. So maybe he threw the dates way off. That's all the only thing I can come up with. Because if you read what he says from 2000, 1999, 2000, 2001, it's absolutely incredible to see where we are today and read what the hell he said back then when high-speed internet was like just coming out. You know what I mean? Like, what? And someone asked him about China. Are they ever going to go to space? He said, you'll be happy to know in just a few years they will. They'll be sending a man in orbit or something. Well, I think it was 2003 or somewhere around there. China finally sent their man to space. He was already been long gone. But he talked about this kind of thing. So again, if he's talking about these inner tube things, tires, oh, well, you're going to find out in 08. Let's just forget the date for now. You're going to find out in the future just who produces those tires. Okay, who gives a crap who produces them? Obviously, he's trying to send you a message, a little hint, hint. You're going to find out who produces them because you ain't going to get them anymore. That's what he meant. And why would China dare do such a thing? They don't want to shoot their foot off. They're exporting to the whole world, and us included. We're a big buyer of Chinese products. Why would they do that, I'm thinking? Well, we must be going to war. And funny enough, he says that's what's going to happen. But before it gets to that point, he talks about this kind of a trade war thing. And if Donald Trump warns Xi, trade war with China begins this Monday, which is the day after you'll see this video, China's going to have to do its own thing too. And may say, you know what, the hell with you guys. We've been working with the BRICS nations and everybody else over here, which is why we've never invited you to any of these meetings, in case you didn't notice. We don't need you anymore. Piss off. And then what? How do we get our inner tubes? How do we get, right? I can kind of see that, as an escalation, not Monday morning that, that all this will happen. But you can kind of see this escalating to that point. So what does he mean? As if this was Zero Hedge too. As if there weren't enough geopolitical stress points in the world to fill a lifetime of sleepy, vacation-y Augusts. Late on Friday night, President Trump spoke to Chinese President Xi Jinping and told him that he's preparing to order an investigation into Chinese trade practices next week, according to NBC. Politico confirms that Trump is ready to launch a new trade crackdown on China next week, citing an administration official, a step that Trump delayed 2 weeks ago under the guidance of his new chief of staff, General Kelly, but now appears imminent. It is also an escalation which most analysts agree will launch a trade war between Washington and Beijing. As Politico details, Trump on Monday will call for an investigation into China over allegations that the nation violated U.S. intellectual property rights and forced technology transfers. the official said. While it's unclear how much detail Trump will get into in the announcement, administration officials expect U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer, that's an interesting last name, to open an investigation against China under Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974. The ordering of the investigation will not immediately impose sanctions, but could lead to steep tariffs on Chinese goods. Trump has expressed frustration in recent months over what he sees as China's unfair trade practices or policies. As we discussed 2 weeks ago, Trump had planned to launch the trade investigation more than a week ago, but he delayed the move in favor of securing China's support for expanded UN sanctions against North Korea, the senior administration official said. The pending announcement also came amid heightened tension between the United States and China, even after the Trump administration scored a victory in persuading Beijing to sign onto the new United Nations sanctions on North Korea. Still, Trump has delayed trade action before, amid pressure from business groups and major trading partners. 2 Commerce Department reports examining whether to restrict steel and aluminum imports on national security grounds were expected by the end of June, but have been bottled up in an internal review. Trading partners raised threats of retaliation, and domestic steel users complained of being hurt by price increases and restricted supply. The trade investigation will immediately strain relations between the U.S. and China as the 2 countries wrestle with the unpredictable situation over North Korea. Should Trump follow through, the move will lay the groundwork for Trump to impose tariffs against Chinese imports, which will mark a significant escalation in his efforts to reshape the trade relationship between the world's 2 largest economies. In other words, even if there is now conventional war announced with either North Korea or Venezuela, Trump's next step is to launch a trade war against China. Quote, the United States government can and does work with countries to address serious concerns such as North Korea, while also pursuing measures to address economic concerns such as the theft of U.S. intellectual property, a U.S. National Security Council official said. It wasn't immediately clear how China would react to the move. When reports of the potential trade investigation first emerged more than a week ago, China's Commerce Ministry stressed the importance of the U.S.-China trade ties and of resolving differences through dialogue and consultation. We would like to emphasize that the Chinese government has always attached importance to intellectual property protection, a spokesman said. The results are there for all to see. Trump, who has been residing at his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, for the past week, plans to return to Washington on Monday to officially announce the trade investigation. The decision will not only take action against alleged Chinese violations of U.S. companies' intellectual property rights, but could also be perceived as an attempt by the U.S. government to crank up the pressure on Beijing to rein in North Korea. I think China can do a lot more, Trump told reporters on Thursday, and I think China will do a lot more. As CNN adds, the trade investigation is expected to be only one part of a multi-pronged push by the Trump administration to counter perceived Chinese trade abuses. The administration has been eyeing other moves to rebalance the U.S.-China trading relationship, but analysts have cautioned that Trump faces a huge challenge in his desire to significantly reduce the U.S. trade deficit with China, which last stood at more than $300 billion, or a third of a trillion. Protection measures against some specific items, such as steel and aluminum, may gain political favors, but are likely not to be much help to rebalance trade, economists at the Institute of International Finance wrote in a research note this week. Meanwhile, as we reported previously, China's state media signaled the nation would hit back immediately against any trade measures, as it has done in the past episodes. This time around, the need to project strength domestically is compounded by the looming twice-a-decade leadership reshuffle that may further entrench President Xi Jinping's power. Still, Trump's offensive comes at a very sensitive time for Beijing, just weeks ahead of the 19th Party Congress, when Xi Jinping wants everything in his economy to be perfect. Ahead of the 19th Party Congress, the last thing that China will want is a trade war, said Callum Henderson, a managing director for Asia Pacific at Eurogroup of Singapore. It is also important that Beijing does not look weak in this context. As such, expect a cautious, proportional response. Of course, ultimately, the big question, as Bloomberg has put it, is whether the Trump administration is willing to risk a trade war as it ups the ante. The IMF warned last month that inward-looking policies could derail a global recovery that has so far been resilient to raising tensions over trade. The problem for both the U.S. and China is that as Trump gets increasingly more focused on distracting from his numerous domestic scandals, and when I use the word scandal here as he does, I'm going to have to say not any of his scandals, alleged scandals that he's done, which keep turning out to be crap. Russia collusion, nothing. He is likely to take ever more drastic action in the foreign arena, where that means hot war with North Korea or trade war with China or both. And as you probably heard, China said if you start preemptively hitting North Korea, we're not going to allow it. Not exactly saying how they wouldn't allow it, but I think I got a sneaky suspicion. Two superpowers, one telling one not to fire any missiles or anything over here, or we're going to not allow it to happen. Like response with the like response, if I had to say. So, we shall see. Again, I keep telling y'all, all these years I've been doing this, it's not getting any better. The articles I'm reading, and it's not made up stuff, this is real stuff, are not getting any better. As in better as in not going to war, not going to bad economy stuff, economic stuff. It just keeps getting worse. Which makes me keep thinking about this damn John Titor story. Every time I see something like this happening, it fires it right back up in the old brain cells. Take care.